All right, we are now live. We'll give it a second. See if this comes up. People are probably jumping in. Get into my channel.
Hello, Internet. That's pretty awesome.
There we go. Hey, K-Pro, how are you? I already got Chris in there.
Sweet.
So, hey, everybody. Sean Dotson here with The Flip Side. It is July 14th, 2018, and this is your weekend update. So tonight, everybody, you know, as usual, the beer I'm drinking tonight is called Buster Nut Brown from Ska Brewery out of Durango, Colorado. It's a great dark beer. And Jeremy, if everybody doesn't know, this is Jeremy Parnell over here, and he is going to be my guest tonight. I'm going to introduce him here in a little bit. But Jeremy, what are you drinking tonight?
It's a Guinness.
Nice. It's a good choice.
Yeah, it's my go-to drink.
Right on. Oh, I got a little head on this one. Ooh. Did not pour as well. Letting my fans down. Look at that.
I should say it's my go-to beer.
What's that?
It's my go-to beer. Actually, my go-to drink. It usually involves bourbon of some sort.
Right. So the chat room's definitely filling up. So everybody, just want to, first of all, introduce my guest for this evening. And his name is Jeremy Parnell, and he's out of Lexington, Kentucky, the horse capital of the world. Isn't that correct, Jeremy?
That's right, sir.
So anyways, if you don't know Jeremy, let me just introduce a couple things and tell you a little bit about Jeremy. Jeremy has actually had several things put out there on the net, and I'm going to talk about a couple that were over on Dal Neitzel's site. And in June of 2015, he has a thread, and it will be in the description down below in the links, but it's called A Search in New Mexico, where Jeremy came out and he actually did a search out in the Cimarron Canyon area of New Mexico. I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with that area. It's a very popular search spot, but he had some great, interpretation of his clues in the Colin Neblett Wildlife Area, but just a great, beautiful area up there if you've never been up there. He also had a thread titled How to Have an Adventure for a Few $100. And this came out in March of this year, again, over at Dal Neitzel's site. And this was really a great, thread from Jeremy and description of how, one can, even from as far away as Jeremy is from his search area, where it can go just on a few $100 and go out there and live on the cheap and just, cook out in the open and spend time with friends and family. And it's a great thread. I highly suggest you go over there and read it if you haven't already. Also, if you don't know, Jeremy was also the winner of the 2016 Femboree T-shirt contest. And it was an amazing T-shirt. I'm sure some of you probably have that T-shirt, but also the description is down below, or the link to that thread. And you can see that picture and some of the other runner-ups that came up. But Jeremy's was awesome. It was a really kind of a Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of feeling to it. And it's kind of like that picture he's got right up there. So I think he did an amazing job with that. It's probably the best Femboree shirt that's floating out there. And you need to get one and get it autographed, that's for sure. And then also, I talked about it last week, but he had a recent thread over on the Hint of Riches forum called Myths and the Chase. And it was a little bit more than that, but it was called Myths in the Chase That You Believe Are True or Not True. But it's a great thread. If you haven't gone over, the link to that is also in the description down below, and you can find that if you haven't gone there. But there's some great discussion over on K-Pro's site, The Hint of Riches, and highly suggest you go check that one out. So that's just telling me, or what I know of Jeremy and what I've seen over the last few years of being able to communicate with him on the forums. And now I'm glad and I'm very happy to have him here on the Flip Side Weekend Update. So Jeremy, I'll allow you a couple minutes just to kind of introduce yourself to everybody.
Well, thanks, Sean. I appreciate that. I don't know if it'll take a couple of minutes. I really don't like to talk about myself all that much. I'm a very mellow guy, a little bit humble. Sorry. And also, a little bit shy. So this is something a little bit new for me. So please don't flame me too much in the chat room. But as Sean mentioned, I live in Lexington, Kentucky. It is the horse capital of the world. I'm lucky enough to actually work at the horse park here in Kentucky, so I'm around horses all the time. I'm actually a software developer for the United States Equestrian Federation, which is the national governing body of equestrian sports. We're involved with equestrian sports at like the Olympic level. I can't really talk too much about that, but if you have like some softball questions regarding my work, please let me know. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Who do we bet on? That's all we want to know.
Okay, so that's actually interesting. So that's the one thing that we don't deal with horses. It's all equestrian sports. So it's like dressage, horse jumping, like driving carriages, things like that. The only thing we don't cover is the actual horse racing. That's covered by somebody completely different.
Is that like is that kind of like a taboo thing to talk about in your realm? Is there kind of like a pit back and forth, would you think, or?
So maybe among some horse enthusiasts, I have a deep appreciation of the animal, but if you think Forrest Fenn searchers kind of go nuts over the treasure, that's kind of what happens in the horse world as far as like people going nuts over the various different kinds of disciplines. For the most part, people get along, but I don't know if there's any kind of like secret rivalry there. There probably is.
There probably is. Right.
Yeah.
Very cool. I didn't mean
so,
I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's okay. So as Sean mentioned, I kind of got involved in the search for Forrest Fenn's treasure in the early part of 2015. I want to say around February. It was probably right after the New Mexico tourism video came out, because I remember that was the first video I actually saw. So like a lot of people, I was hooked right away. I watched that video and I'm like, oh man, I can do this. No problem whatsoever. In fact, I didn't know anything at all about the treasure hunt except what was in that video. But immediately I jumped on my computer, and the only fact I had was that the treasure is hidden somewhere above 5,000 feet. I didn't know anything else. So by that time, I had already downloaded like an entire list of all the mountains in America above 5,000 feet. It didn't matter if it was in Rocky Mountains or the Appalachian Mountains or wherever. I knew all about it, right? So at that point, I think I went on Facebook and I actually saw the graphic that says in the Rocky Mountains north of Santa Fe. And that kind of, led me into, I need to do some more research on this. So I went off and bought the book. Have it here. Yeah, so I started off like a lot of searchers, looking at the Rocky Mountains, and my thought at the time was that here's this guy who created the treasure hunt, and it's just this puzzle, and he wants people to find it and see if they can figure out the puzzle. I didn't think it was like personal to him at all. I just thought he was like this evil mastermind, like, hey, try to figure this out. So I looked at the Rocky Mountains and I'm like, well, if I wanted to send a lot of people looking for this treasure hunt, I would pick something that maybe everybody could recognize. So I like everybody else, thought where warm waters halt probably was like Old Faithful or something like that, something internationally recognizable. I was totally wrong. I don't think it is. But I didn't know that until after I actually read the book. After reading the book, I realized this is actually a very personal story to him. It's a very personal treasure hunt. And like I said, I was hooked and I just wanted to be a part of it. To me, it's a great American treasure hunt. It's something you're never going to find anywhere else. It's special. Everybody here should feel honored to be a part of it. And that's all it is for me. I just want to be a part of it.
That's great. I think you shy. I don't think you're shy at all. I think you spoke very well. I think you articulated yourself and told a great story of how you got into this and really kind of captured the spirit of what this is about. It is a great American treasure hunt. And I think it's great. And as we'll talk about here, what in the happenings this week, we have people coming from overseas, some great people with Massimo Santini we're going to talk about, that was on A Gypsy's Kiss. I mean, just a really cool guy, like you were saying, somebody that you think you could sit down and have a beer with and just talk about whatever. So it's, I don't know, we'll talk about that when we get to it. But I want to go ahead and say hi to a lot of people that have joined us in the chat room. Again, K-Pro, you made it in first. You get the bragging rights, I guess. DeCall Thomas, how you doing, DeCall? Minotaur Marino. William Ortiz, Davio22, love to you, brother. Renee Slarv, David Kramer, that's my search partner. How you doing, David? H. Purd, hey, H. Purd. Lori James, good to see you. Totally Not Missy, there you are. Mama Llama, Finn Treasure Hunter, Jason, how you doing? Going down, hey, Iron Will, that's good to see you in there. Haven't seen you in a little while. Ben Downing, how are you doing, Ben? There's Sasha Johnson, our wild and crazy pistol on the After Hours Party Show. We love her.
I have a few comments for her if I can slip them in later.
Oh yeah, you can slip them in there. She's good. Let's see who else we got in here. Looks like I might have covered everybody so far. Just going down real quick, make sure I don't miss anybody. Ben Downing, I did say hi to you. I think we've caught up with everybody. We've got 38 people watching right now. That's great. Chris Bettles. Now, Chris, I hope I'm not pronouncing your last name wrong. I'm probably totally mashing it up. Hey, there's Jeremy Parnell in there. Hey, who's that guy? Journeyman, how you doing, Journeyman? Yeah, looks like I'm all caught up with everybody.
Awesome.
So, go ahead. Did you have something, Jeremy, you want to add?
No, I was just saying awesome. All of this is awesome. I should point out that I'm a huge fan of not just Forrest Fenn, but all of you. Like, you guys are completely entertaining to me. So now that I'm in here, I'm talking to Sean directly, and I'm talking to you guys through the chat. It's the fanboy's dream. So thank you.
Yeah, we'd love to having you. It was great, when I reached out to you that we had a good conversation prior to, and then we got to talk last night, you, David, and I, and get to know you a little bit better. So we were excited to have you on and see how it goes.
Great.
So we're going to jump right into it, folks. Again, it was a great week in the Fenn Tube verse and the Chase universe here. So we're going to jump right into it. Again, we go alphabetically. So obviously we're going to start with A Gypsy's Kiss. And this Tuesday, they started out with a show titled Why We Won't Search in New Mexico, or excuse me, in Yellowstone. Sorry, Toby. No, you guys didn't switch and you're leaving New Mexico. We know you are fans of New Mexico. So what he kind of did in that video is he had a letter from a fellow searcher that he sent to Toby and Shelley, and he wanted them to debunk why the treasure chest is not in Yellowstone, because he was of the firm conviction that because the book, talks so fondly, or Forrest talks so fondly in the book of Yellowstone, or in the book about Yellowstone, that he felt that, the treasure without a doubt had to be in Yellowstone National Park. So Toby and Shelley kind of, and Toby likes to say he objectively broke down the book by the chapters and tried to show how, him and Shelley felt that the treasure had to be pretty much not in Yellowstone, because he doesn't talk about Yellowstone that much in the book, that he mostly talks about New Mexico. And that was kind of, a reasoning for them also, their conviction of that the treasure chest is in New Mexico. And I don't want to give too much more than that away. I thought it was a great video. I don't personally don't necessarily agree with kind of their breakdown of that, but I understand where they're going, and that's their opinion, and we're all welcome to our own opinions, right? Did you have anything you want to add to that, Jeremy? Did you see that one? Or?
Yes, I did. And my only complaint with Toby's reasoning there is that when you ask, I think the question that was asked in that video is, what is the book about? And to me, that's kind of a qualitative statement over a quantitative statement. And, what they did is they went through and counted chapters. So, I kind of mentioned that on his YouTube channel, and I don't know. Maybe he might hate me now. I don't know. I try not to criticize.
Dislike. That must have been Toby and Shelley. They disliked us already.
Yeah. For the record, now that I'm talking to everybody directly, whenever I say something, I'm only half being critical. I'm really mostly saying things just to be funny, I guess. But you don't have to agree with me. I'm not going to always agree with you guys. In fact, I probably don't agree with most of you. But please don't hold that against me. It's all in fun.
Yeah.
I do like to goof off a lot.
And me being a poem purist, while I do look at the book, and I've read the book just as many times as everybody else. The foundation of my solve is still based upon basically the poem, and anything outside of that can be so subjective. And so when I was going and listening to Toby's video, and he kept talking about, objectivity and subjectivity. And I just was like, kind of cringing a little bit to myself, because I think everything outside of the poem is very subjective. And even his interpretation of breaking down the chapters, to me, felt like it was very, very subjective, and you could point it in almost any direction.
Well, I think you said it right. It's very clinical, analytic, and like I said, it's based on metrics. I don't really feel it. I don't feel like that's the kind of guy that Forrest Fenn is, and I don't really think that's what leads people to write poetry. I think it's, I've said this countless times on the blogs. I feel it's more art than science.
Yeah. So on Wednesday, they talked about, and they had a guest on there, and that was Michael. I know I'm going to mess up his name here. I can't even read my own writing here. But Michael, I'm not even going to mess up his last name here. But he was actually from Tokyo, Japan, and they had him on there. But the whole topic of that discussion was, how far is too far to travel? And they also had some other questions in there, and some of the questions were, how far is too far to travel? What would stop you from searching? What would physically stop you from searching? And when, if Forrest passes, what would you do when and if Forrest passes? How does that affect the chase? And then who confirms the find, after Forrest passes? Do we think that's going to be Shiloh? Do we think it's going to be Douglas? Do we think it's going to be anybody at all? Those are some of the questions that they asked. And then who takes over when Forrest passes, like I said. So those are some of the questions they asked on there. There was obviously some internet issues that Michael was having, and they finally got that worked out towards the end of the video, where he actually walked down to the lobby and was able to connect and tell us his story. But they also had Cynthia Meacham, Jason Dent, and Rodney Greenway was also on the show with them too. They got to put their input on those questions. So I thought it was a good show. I thought they did a good job with it, even with all the technical difficulties they did have. So definitely worth going and checking out, I think. What do you think, Jeremy?
Well, I think people need to forgive us when there's technical difficulties. It's the internet. None of us are rocket scientists. So hopefully people take all of that with just take it in stride. So this is where I actually compliment Toby. I think he's a great interviewer. I think he missed his calling. He work for the government or something like that. He should have been a reporter. He asked really great questions. He always gets to the heart of the matter, and these are actually things that searchers. He's echoing what searchers are really curious about, and so I always enjoy watching his videos.
Yeah.
So yeah. Now to the actual the points of it. I personally would probably whenever. So I hesitate to say when Forrest Fenn passes away, because I feel like searchers say that a lot, maybe too often. He's still here with us. He watches these videos. He's right here alongside of us. I don't think he's out there with secret accounts commenting and things like that. But that's my opinion. I put that in my myths thread. But I don't know how I'm going to be when I'm 80 years old, but I probably wouldn't want an army of people talking about me passing away. just spitballing. That's probably how I would feel about it. But
I think I would play practical jokes on people like that if I was.
So that said, I'm going to say now.
Okay, let me play a practical joke on you then.
Yeah. So I am going to say, if he passes away, I'm probably personally going to draw back a little bit from the chase, because I really enjoy his interaction.
Yes,
I enjoy the stories he tells.
Be right back.
Sure. Take your time. All right, so now that Sean's gone, let's really figure out where this treasure chest is, and let's just not tell him. What do you guys think? All right, anyway, back to what I was saying. I really enjoy Forrest Fenn's involvement. I love the stories he tells. There's not very many connections that normal people have to that generation. There's not very many people who've seen the things that Forrest Fenn has seen in his life that are still around. So I think that whenever he does come on and he tells, he actually posted something the other day about talking What was he talking about? He was talking about modern airplanes. So for an 88-year-old man who used to fly planes during the Vietnam War to come on to a, first off, I don't know any 88-year-old guys who know how to use the internet. I mean, that's a rarity anyway. But for an 88-year-old guy to come on and talk about computer flown airplanes when he used to fly the ones from the Vietnam time, I think that's amazing. And we don't really have too many connections like him to that generation. So if Forrest Fenn were to pass away, I think the part of the chase would pass away with him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'll probably still go looking.
Folks, I had to step away for a sec, family first, so I had to take care of my daughter real quick. So I want to move on to Thursday with the Gypsy's Kiss. They did do the book club, which was the part 4 of 7 of My War for Me chapter, and you can go watch that video. And then Friday they did the number, or the 4th iteration of It's All About You, and their searcher was actually a physical guest that actually came and visited Toby there at his home, and his name was Massimo Santini, and he was from Italy, and very interesting fellow. We got to know him a little bit. He had brought his family all the way from Italy over here. This is his, he's been to America several times, but this time he was coming to search, and he's actually here for 2 months. So he's got a great story, just a really interesting, guy. And just listening to him, he's very well spoken. He speaks English very well. He does have a heavy accent, but just a very interesting guy. And Jeremy and I were kind of just talking before we got on here and did the show, but he's just a guy you'd kind of like to sit down and have a drink with or something and get to know him. But what was your take on him, Jeremy?
I mean, that guy's awesome. That's the guy I want to be if I wasn't hopped up on coffee all the time. I mean, he's very cool. He's very down to earth, and he's very centered. And, to come all the way from Italy and say, well, I'm probably not going to find the treasure chest. The odds are stacked against me. Whenever I travel from Kentucky out there, I mean, I kind of feel the same way, but I didn't invest like however many thousands of miles that he traveled. So, yeah, I think the guy's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely a video worth going to watch and getting the perspective of this chase, from somebody who is not here, and he has an appreciation for our country and what we do here. And he's just excited about the fact to come here and do this, and that only in America would this happen, and
it's a great American treasure hunt.
It is. It's exciting for him. So definitely go and check it out. I'm hoping that maybe I can get down there to Albuquerque, this next month or this month and be able to see Toby and Shelly and maybe meet, Sasha and Cynthia and this gentleman as well. I'd love to meet him. So looking forward to that. Now we're going to move on to Adventure. And Adventure this week put out a video titled First Boots on the Ground, and the remake of his Done with the BS video. So I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about, Adventure had put out a video that he was done with the bullshit and basically, called out a few people for some of their negativity and stuff in the chase. And I thought it was a great video. I think it was something that probably needed to be said and to, put some people in check and just call them out for some of the negativity. And he took it down because he felt, I wouldn't say a little embarrassed, but he felt like he was a little too maybe harsh or whatever, but he did put a new video out and did a little bit differently. So it's definitely worth going and checking out. And he was planning his first boots on the ground. I think he left Thursday night and then Friday. And then today, I believe he's returning home. So Adventure, we'd love to hear a video from you and get an update on your boots on the ground trip and how that went. We'd love to hear from you. So if you're listening, and I hope you are, let's see a new video come out hopefully this week and soon. Did you get a chance to watch that, Jeremy? Or?
I did not. Yeah. No. In fact, I kind of wait every week until this video comes out to find out what I should have watched from the previous week. Right. This show is actually my source for anything on YouTube. Mostly on YouTube, I'm watching things about Marvel characters and the Avengers and so
right.
on.
Well, cool. Thanks for the compliment. I appreciate that.
Yeah, this show is an essential source. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe.
No. Yeah, or stay with us. Next, I'm going to talk about Cynthia Meacham and her blog, which is chasingfennstreasure.com. And this week she put out a new blog update, and it was titled, "Can We Glean Any Hints from Listening to Forrest Fenn Read the Poem?" And she goes in to talk about that, and then she puts in a video that, is an outtake from another video where he's actually, reading the poem. And then she goes on to talk about the fact that when he read the poem that time, he does say the word answer instead of the plural answers. And Forrest Fenn has been questioned on this before, where he says, it really doesn't matter. They both kind of mean the same to him. And so, glean that from what you will, but definitely worth going over to Cynthia Meacham's blog and reading what she has to say on that. And I don't want to give it all away, but again, the description, the link is in the description down below. And next, I want to talk about Dale Richards. I know I talked to him about the week prior to, and Dale Richards had put out a prior video that showed a short video clip from the Browns Park area, and he had promised to put out some other videos. Well, Dale did, live up to that promise, and he did put out another video, a short video titled "A Lander, Wyoming Forrest Fenn Where Warm Waters Halt." And this was a great short video with some amazing scenery pics and videos of the Lander, Wyoming area, and really centered around Sinks Canyon, and which I know a lot of people really like that area because Forrest Fenn talks very fondly of the Lander, Wyoming area and the Popo Aggie River. And so this is right around there in the Sinks Canyon, and some great video and stuff. So definitely go check out that video if you haven't already, and also obviously go and subscribe and like Dale's videos as well. And I think he might be in here tonight.
So I actually have a comment on this. Believe it or not, Sinks Canyon was one of my first solves, before I actually sat down and read the book and all that. I like to think that I've evolved a lot of my thinking since my early days, but, I probably do make a lot of mistakes still. But that was actually one of my first thoughts. And I had this crazy idea that the poem kind of read as water traveling. And, so like we're warm. I don't even know if the temperature of the water is warm, but in my mind, not knowing anything, I thought maybe it halted at the sinks. And then, the rest of the poem was about the rise up. And I thought, oh, it's just going to be sitting right there in the pool at the rise. But, that was one of my first thoughts.
It's definitely a beautiful area. I personally haven't been in that area, but I've obviously done a lot of Google Earth, boots on the ground, so to speak, and looking at that area and trying to, again, when I was first in this as well, when I first got in looking at that area, because it was a popular spot, and trying to, what I thought, catching up with other people like, oh, could this be Warm Waters Halt, and looking at that as well. So definitely an interesting area. And I know a lot of people still like that area, and it could be, who knows, could be where this.
Yeah. I was surprised in my research to find that there, like before he ruled out caves, there's actually some caves that are nearby there that most people don't know about. They actually discovered it because they saw water shooting out of the side of a cliff, like when there were like heavy rains or something. I don't think that you can put a treasure chest in a place where water's shooting out the side of the cliff and everything, but maybe there are some undiscovered things around there. Who knows?
Oh, come on. Haven't you seen Fool's Gold?
That was actually what I found when I went on my trip. I actually found some fool's gold and brought it back with me and said, "Here's my gold."
Have you seen that movie Fool's Gold with Matthew McConaughey and I can't remember the other girl's name in it, but it's a good movie.
No, I haven't seen that. See, I'm getting all kinds of great tips. I'm going to write that down. Fool's Gold, Matthew McConaughey. Where was I? We talked about Adventure, Dale Jr. Okay, now we're moving on to Fenn Treasure Hunter, our good friend Jason Dent, who's obviously in the chat room tonight. Jason, how are you doing? But this week he did a Tuesday live chat centered around why not Colorado, and a lot of people don't ever really talk about Colorado very much. And he was asking that question, well, why not Colorado? And there was some good discussion, from the chat room, and Jason does an excellent job of really, communicating well with the chat room and kind of letting the chat room lead the discussion, and then him just kind of, flowing along that discussion with them. So definitely, if you're a Colorado searcher or you're interested in Colorado, go watch that video and get some good ideas on why maybe Colorado could be the state that the treasure's found in. So now I'm going to move on to Dal Neitzel's site. And Dal Neitzel had a couple of really interesting things happen this week on his channel. And I'm going to jump over here so I can see it. And I'm going to pull it up. Where did I go?
but he had a thread called came out called Watching Philly Stone. And this is about a gentleman named Kieran, who's a 19-year-old gentleman who's going to go hunting for Forrest Fenn's treasure out in Yellowstone. But Kieran, and I know I'm probably totally butchering that name. Jeremy, can you pronounce that, or have you looked at that and understood his name?
Kieran? Sounds right to me.
What's that?
Kieran, I have no idea.
Yeah, we're totally.
I couldn't say it sober.
Yeah. But yeah, he's going to ride his bike all the way from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, all the way to Yellowstone. And you can follow him on Instagram. And I didn't put it in here, but you can go to the link, on Down Nichols and find it. But
it's at k.w.shields.
Yep.
And I know that because I am following him, and it is going to be awesome. This is the kind of stuff that I'm into. That is an adventure. He's going to be riding 199 hours across the country. And if you think about where he is, Philly, whatever, Philly over, yeah, there we go. Philly over here and the Rocky Mountains over here. That's 2 mountain ranges that he's going through. He's going through the Appalachians and the Rockies and everything else all across the country on a bike. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is way cool.
Yeah.
So would definitely, if you're on Instagram and you want to follow that, and you're obviously an avid searcher, it's definitely something worth following and just keeping up with this person. I think it's going to be great, and I'm hoping that Dow will also update on his website here, and keep that going. And next, they did another thread that was titled "Thrill of the Chase Inspired T-shirts," and this is another thread over here on Dow Neitzel's site by Chris Ekman. And Chris Ekman, I think he's a former U.S. Marine, but he's actually designed some T-shirts. I'm looking at one here. It says "Brave and in the Wood." Another one that says "Got Mad Thrills." A couple others in here. "Dig Deep," I thought was a pretty cool one. And then the one I really liked is one that says "Blaze Your Own Trail," and then it's got the 4 search states, in it. And I thought that was a really cool one. I'm personally thinking about ordering that one myself. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely something worth going looking at on Dow Neitzel's site. The 2 different threads that came up on there.
So Sean mentioned the T-shirt I designed for Fenn Barré. These things blow that away. These are actually kind of cool. Like you would want to wear them out in public.
Sorry, my oldest daughter is telling me my son is having a little meltdown in the next room. I think he'll be all right, but he's a little upset. Next, I want to talk about It Is What It Is Productions, our friend Eric. And he did a video this week titled Forrest Fenn using, well, it wasn't Forrest Fenn using aliases, but it was about potentially Forrest Fenn using aliases, to communicate on the forums. So I think it was a 4-part video series that Eric did. Definitely something, if you think that's a possibility, it might be something you might want to go check out and subscribe to Eric's channel and like his videos as well. And then there was another guy by the name of Matthew Calls, and I think it's Kalz. And I think I've talked about him one time before, but he put out a video about the chest isn't in the 4 corners or on native lands. And I think Matthew actually is a Native American, and I think he might be from this area where I'm at here in the 4 corners. But he was kind of going into why it's not here in the 4 corners and why it's not on Indian land. So I think a lot of us probably believe that Forrest Fenn, or logically believe that Forrest Fenn didn't put it on, Native American lands. I mean, one part of that video where he talked about, who legally owns the treasure with, I think it was Barry Peterson. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but where Forrest Fenn said if it's on, Indian lands, then it really gets complicated. So
right.
I believe that it's probably not on Indian lands, but definitely, from a perspective of somebody who I believe is a Native American, and maybe Matthew can correct me if I'm wrong, that he believes it's not on, native lands. So definitely a video to go check out. Next, did you want to add something to that? Sorry, Jeremy.
Yeah, I just wanted to say there's only a couple of, there's 2 things that I don't believe. One is that it's on native lands, unless he was really serious about, 1,000 years down the road, and it's only going to be found 1,000 years down the road, then maybe it's a possibility. And then The only thing else that I truly don't believe is I don't really believe that Totally Not Mitzi is Totally Not Mitzi. I think Totally Not Mitzi totally is. Just saying.
Totally, Mitzi.
Totally Mitzi.
So next I want to talk about Men Are So Smart. They put out a new video this week titled More on the Clues. You know, these are my buddies I like to call Bert and Ernie on there. But they go into talking more about the clues, but they also talk a lot about, you know, those who've been commenting on their site and been answering a lot of those questions. So definitely go out and, you know, go back over and check out their video. I think it's about 20 minutes long. It's interesting hearing those guys because they're kind of progressing more and more into the chase and learning more about it. And you can kind of see them, you know, men are so smart. They're getting smarter about the chase, so to speak. And definitely a couple of interesting guys to listen to. Next is our good friend Shannon Oots of the Odious Soul. She did put a video out this week giving an update. It was about a 16-minute video and kind of giving an update of where she's at and, you know, getting back in after everything that's happened with her and her family and getting back into putting out some videos. And she's kind of given an update on, you know, what she's going to be doing as far as her videos. And we definitely look forward to getting some more videos. And she also just wanted, you know, to communicate with the community and you know, genuinely say how, you know, surprised she was at the generosity from the community. So I just want to, you know, to you, Shannon, you know, you're definitely a part of this FinTube community and the Chase community. And we always come together for those that are in need. And I think it's good that all of us, you know, came together to help her out in her time of need and gave her support, you know, whether that be financially or whether that be just, you know, emotional support and saying that we were there, you know, prayers and thoughts were with her. So we're looking forward to having Shannon and be able to talk about her and watch some of her videos that are going to come. And she does an outstanding job.
I do watch her videos. They are very nice.
Very good. Very good. Next is Paul, our good friend from the UK. And he put out a couple videos this week, one titled Look Quickly Down, where he kind of went into his interpretation of that. And then he put out another one titled This Is It. And I couldn't, at first I thought Paul might have actually been trying to communicate that he's going to leave the chase. And maybe that could be the case. But then he started giving out a lot of his interpretations of the clues. So definitely a couple of good videos to watch from Paul. Paul, I hope you're not leaving the community. We hope to see more videos and get more information from you. It's really good to get a perspective from those that are not living here in the United States on the chase and you know, and their interpretations of it. So I think there's some good insight there. So Paul, hopefully we're going to get more from you, buddy. Next is our good friend Rambling Pam, our Mellow Yellow Pam. And she put out a video this week titled, or it was about visiting Antonito, Colorado, and I think, is it Colorado? Yeah, it is Colorado, and Taos, New Mexico. And she kind of went along the old, what she calls the Forrest Fenn stomping grounds. And she was a cool video. If you haven't been up in those areas, she kind of does some good, you know, scenery and talks about the area and the histories of the area. So Pam, another great video from you. And we look forward to seeing more. I hope that if you're ever in my neck of the woods that you can come by and we could have some coffee or get to know each other I don't know if you drink a beer, I'll buy you a beer. And next, I want to talk about RF Hecky, our good friend Susie. Susie put out a lot of videos again this week. And again, Jeremy, have you listened to Susie? Have you watched any of her videos?
I think so. I'm not really sure. I'm terrible with names. It's possible that I've watched some of these videos that you've been talking about and just didn't recognize the names myself.
Well, you'd recognize her. She's a lot of fun. It's like, you know, she's always had a couple glasses of wine and she's just mellow and just relaxed. And she's just got a really cool mellow tone to her and she's fun to listen to. But she had one video and I can't remember which one it was, but she was really addressing that, you know, she had a little bit of trouble with a couple of people that were trolling her and calling her names. And it was kind of unfortunate because I don't understand that, you know, because she's such a nice, mellow, fun, you know, going person. It doesn't, you know, people get so uptight. It's just fun to listen to other searchers and their interpretations of clues and have fun with it, whether you agree or not. If you disagree with it, you know, just turn it off and move on, or, you know, and if you have to, give it a dislike, but there's no need to put somebody down and call them names or whatever.
Absolutely.
Move on and go somewhere else. I just think that there's no there's no sense in that, folks. It's just, it's silly. But Susie, we love you. Keep putting videos out. It's fun listening to you. And I definitely enjoy I personally definitely enjoy your videos, and they're great. You're just so mellow and fun to listen to. And I hope that your fire alarm that went off last week, you didn't burn down the house or something. Hope you're all right.
Anybody who wants to criticize somebody who makes these videos, make a video yourself. You'll see that, you know, it's totally different to sit in that seat. You should be nice to these people.
Yep. And then next I want to talk about the Hint of Riches forum, which is also known as Thor, and that is K-Pro. Chris is obviously here in the chat room tonight. But they had a thread that was a contest about rewriting the first stanza. And I put a description or the link in the description down below about that. But it was all about people trying to rewrite the first stanza in their own kind of interpretive way. And I thought that was a good one. But she also, you know, got some words from Forrest. And Forrest Fenn, I think you were alluding to this and talking about this, Jeremy, was that you got some words from Forrest where a searcher, I'm going to pull this one up here so I get it right. Yeah, she had a bunch of questions that came in from different searchers on Thor, and she passed them on to Forrest. And Forrest did answer one. And the question was, what do you think about our modern jet fighters, the F-22 and the F-35? And Forrest Fenn responded and said, those airplanes are operated by computers, which requires more training than a pilot normally gets. A few years ago, I attended the Misty FAC reunion at General Fogelman's house in Durango, very close to my house. I asked him if I was capable of flying the F-16. He said I could fly the airplane, but couldn't operate the avionics. I thought that was kind of interesting, like Jeremy was alluding to. You know, here's a guy who's 88 years old and keeps up with all this stuff. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, he could, I mean, I guess planes are planes, and I mean, that's coming from a guy who's never sat in a seat of a plane, but.
I have no idea what avionics means. I'm
we
sure.
are talking about the Maverick himself. This is the guy that went to that 2-star general and asked him if he could fly his plane, and he's like, sure, go ahead. Or, you know, one of the first pilots that test flew the F-100, you know, in some of the stories he tells. So it makes me wonder if that was Ricky that asked that question. He's such a kind of a plane guy. I wonder if he was the one that asked that question of him. So I don't know.
I don't know.
It's definitely good that obviously that is a credible forum that Forrest Fenn is, you know, communicating with. So I guess, you know, Forrest Fenn is communicating with all the credible forums out there. Good for you, Forrest.
Yeah, I love the K-Pro site. You know, when I first went there, Hint of Riches, it had, I didn't even know it meant Thor, but I think that's awesome too.
Yeah, I think it's way cool.
That site, I really enjoy hanging out on Dal site. Obviously, I've written a few pieces for Dal site. You know, some people beat Dal up. They say that you know, Dal's whatever, but I've talked to him. I've sent emails to him and stuff, and he's a really nice guy. You guys should give him a break.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab one more beer real quick. Hold on, be right back.
Go for it. Okay, now Sean's gone. We can really get down to where this treasure is. All right. So I need your guys' help because I have no idea where the treasure is. I need you guys to tell me. Oh, sorry, he's back.
I don't know either, folks. Again, we're having a Buster Nut Brown.
That's a very unfortunate name for a beer.
Buster Nut. Gotta pour this. So yeah, Dow gets a little bit of flack. I mean, I think every forum owner probably gets some flack in one way or another. And I'm sure K-Pro, you know, here in the chat room will attest to that. And folks, we will get to your questions. I'm sure there might be one or two in there. If not, you guys, I'm sure, are having fun talking amongst yourselves.
Yeah, anything that you guys ask in there that we don't get to here, I'll come back and I'll answer them.
Great, because I do a horrible job of that.
I can't speak for Sean. Anything to Sean, I have no idea.
I just ignore you guys. Next, I want to talk about Urban Taint. And Urban Taint this week had 4 new videos, kind of tying, you know, the chapters in the book to, you know, potential clue answers or his interpretations of them. But one I really liked that he did was one about Forrest Fenn and Eric Sloan. And he kind of tied in, you know, his relationship with Eric Sloan and kind of, you know, how that ties into the chase. I don't want to give it all away because that's a good video that he put together. But if you're going to watch any of his videos, I think that's the one that's, you know, definitely worth watching. But also, like I said, he put 3 other videos out this week too. So great job, Urban Tane. I like listening to you. You got a really mellow voice. You're really laid back and cool. So definitely like your hat. I know Jeremy will like it too. So I think I have the exact same hat that you've got, Urban. I wore it one time on one of the shows. So anyway, cool. It's nice watching you, brother, and keep up the good work on your videos.
I should say I'm wearing this hat because I didn't want to wear my other hat, my adventure hat, because it would make me look like a young DeCal. So I wanted to kind of distinguish myself a bit.
DeCal, he just called you old.
I didn't. Yes, I did. I'm sorry.
He's in there, I think, somewhere, unless his wife pulled him away from there. Now there was, I only saw one new FenTuber video that came out this week, and somebody can correct me, I might have missed one, but it was from a new FenTuber called A Serious Searcher. And this is a young couple of kids that are putting out some videos, and it looks like they're just having fun and, you know, and just kind of mocking the chase a little bit. But if you haven't seen it, you might go watch them. They're kind of comical, you know, and just having a good time doing their videos. So if you're watching this, keep up the videos. It's enjoyable to watch, you know, having a couple of younger guys get their perspective on the chase and do this. So keep them up, and we look forward to any other videos you got coming up. So now that kind of wraps up, you know, what I've seen happen in the you know, the Fenn universe this week. So now I'm going to segue into my opinion piece. And my opinion piece this week kind of revolves around, you know, the mysterious writings, you know, featured question or Q&A that came out this week about, you know, basically a decoy. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to read that. I thought I'd put it up here. Where'd it go? Yep. Here it is. And this came out. I'm going to read it verbatim, and I'm sure some of you have already seen it, but the link is down in the description below. But it said, Mr. Forrest Fenn Treasure Man, you have said in the past that your poem is straightforward with no subterfuge. Recently, comments on Jenny's site have suggested you might leave physical decoys near the treasure to confuse searchers. Might we expect such if one of us is lucky to be that close to your trove one day? Thank you, Randy L. And Forrest Fenn responded by saying, no, Randy, my mind doesn't work like that. And that's kind of what he said. And I wanted to talk about that because there's been a lot of chatter on the forums about what does that mean? And at first I really didn't know where all that decoy chat came from, but I did find it talked about in the previous Q&A about Forrest Fenn's gut feeling, you know, was wavering. And this was, you know, around the first part of July. And there was some chatter in there. And again, I put the link down below, and you can find it if you just do a keyword search on the word decoy, sorry. And it was, there was some chatter back and forth between Iceman and Straw Shadow. And one of the things that Iceman had said, he had said, if you ever get to the right place, you'll have to navigate an entire armada of decoys. The fun is just beginning, my opinion. And then Straw Shadow went on to say, well-placed decoys are a birdman's dream. Look quickly down from a peaceful formation and never land with a bunch of misfits. But there was also some chatter on Thor's site, and I think Lucky Love rebumped that, and I believe I put the link in the description down below. But there was also some chatter on that as well. And it got me to thinking about what does he really mean about decoy? And I started looking at the word decoy and the definition of it. And one of the definitions that really stood out to me was is the noun, or no, I'm in the wrong one here. That's decoy. But yeah, in the definition of decoy, one of the synonyms was lure. And one of the definition of the lure is a strongly attractive quality of a person or a thing. And strongly attractive, and it got me thinking about my definition of the word blaze. Because, you know, the word blaze, and Forrest says, is anything that stands out. But one of the definitions of a blaze, and the verb portion of it, or excuse me, the noun version of it, is a conspicuous display or outburst of something, or a very bright display of light or color. So to me, that kind of means something that's eye-catching. And that's kind of what like a lure is, right? It's something that's a strong attraction of something. So I started looking at that and wondering, is Forrest Fenn, really kind of, or was those people in mysterious writings and even on Thor, were they really alluding to potentially the blaze? And that just got me thinking about that. And that's kind of what I was wondering, were they really talking about the blaze? Is the blaze that one thing that stands out? Is it that one thing that is eye-catching? Is it an attraction? And isn't that what a lure does, or a decoy? It attracts your attention away from something else. So while I don't think that, in that area, there's a whole bunch of decoys that's going to distract you from the treasure. I think if you're really in the right place, it should be, the one thing that does attract your attention. That should be what in my opinion, what the blaze could be. So I don't know if you have any opinions on that, Jeremy, or what you took away from that, or.
I don't think I could possibly add anything at all to what you just said. That was so well spoken. I mean, that's way more analysis than
through that
than I made on any of that. The only thought I had, and it was just a first impression, is I wonder if that comment that he made could be extended to the idea that, a lot of people, I believe Why Must I Go is maybe the front runner on this of a proxy item or something like that. I don't know if a proxy item might fit the definition of decoy. I don't know. But that, I haven't given it a ton of thought yet. And I'm actually really impressed with your analysis of it. I think that was great.
Yeah, I really think if somebody is truly in the right spot there, and they really understand the poem, then they should potentially understand before they even get there on the ground what the blaze should or may be.
Right.
That if they are in the right spot, it may be, like you said, if it's something, a blaze is something that stands out, then potentially it should be the thing that stands out in the area that you are, in my belief. So
right. Yeah, I mean, I think we all at least hope that we would know what it is before we get there. There was that comment a long time ago on Mysterious Writings where somebody asked him if you could figure out, what the blaze is beforehand or something like that. I think it was like a Becky or something like that, and he kind of responded by not responding, and he said, I'm just going to kind of take a pass on this. Maybe that does mean that you can kind of figure out what it is before you arrive. Now, obviously, you still have to be boots on the ground to find the blaze, but maybe you can figure it out before you go. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So that pretty much wraps up my opinion piece. It also wraps up, the weekend update as far as what happened in the FinTube verse. So Jeremy, did you have anything to add, or before we go to the chat room and start answering some of their questions, or?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things that aren't really related to the FinTuber thing, since I'm just getting, my feet wet on this whole FinTuber thing. I still read the blogs. So on the blog, somebody mentioned or linked to a news item where somebody was fined for digging in a state park in New Mexico. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that, because a lot of people do realize, you're not. Also, he got fined for metal detecting in New Mexico in a state park. So I think a lot of, especially new searchers, go up to Yellowstone, for example, and try to do metal detecting and quickly find out that you're not supposed to. Maybe they try to go digging and quickly find out that you're not supposed to. But I don't think a lot of people realize that probably is a policy for many different areas. Apparently, the state parks in New Mexico have that policy as well. So they're all misdemeanors. It wasn't a huge fine or whatever. I think this guy was actually at Finbury. I think he was in Toby's video or the book signing. But yeah, so don't go metal detecting and digging in the state park in New Mexico. It'll cost you money.
Yeah. And then that's a good point. I mean, people ought to be researching laws before you go out there with a shovel and a metal detector, because there are places you can't do that. You can't obviously do that on Indian lands. They get in a lot of trouble. You can't do that in national parks, but there are some places like on BLM land and even in national forest land where you can do that. But you just need to understand the laws where you're going and doing that. Some national monuments and things like that, you can't do it either. So you just got to be very careful what you're doing, where you're going.
Oh, so I do have something that is YouTube related. In fact, it comes from your show. And since Sasha is here, I just wanted to say, Sasha, I love you, but look, if you find the treasure chest, please tell somebody. It doesn't have to be like, you as yourself telling the search community that the treasure chest was found. You can do it anonymously. There's many different ways you can do it. But I firmly disagree with something you said. And you said, people are out there searching all over the place. They don't know if it's true or not. But if you find the treasure chest, you kind of have to take the responsibility. It is like a moral responsibility to tell the search community, because whenever Forrest Fenn says, I know that the treasure hasn't been found, he's saying that in good faith. I mean, he really believes it. Now, he may have some device or something that lets him know whether or not it's been found, but clearly he actually believes that it hasn't been found when he says it hasn't been found. But if you find the treasure chest, you know it has been found. So whatever happens at that point, whether somebody gets hurt, whether people are just spending tons of money, that's entirely on you. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Otherwise, Sasha, you're awesome. I mean, that was a great, great session with you. I mean, I kind of just want to see you get drunk on wine more, because that's great. You should do your own YouTube channel.
Yes, absolutely. And I wholeheartedly agree. I know Sasha and I kind of went back and forth on that on Wednesday. That I'm in your camp. I think that you don't necessarily have to tell that you're the person that found it. You don't necessarily have to say where you found it. You don't necessarily have to say what the correct solution was. But I think that all of us owe it to the rest of the search community to at least provide some irrefutable proof to the search community that it has been found, so that we're not risking finances or ourselves out there searching for something that is no longer there.
Right. There are tons of ways that you can do it anonymously. It doesn't have to. You don't ever have to mention your name.
And I hope I really love the idea of somebody even telling us that it's been found, but not tell us where it was, so that those that still love the thrill, that still want to match wits with the man, could go out there and potentially find the location. Now, that means that something's got to be left there that says that, yes, you actually found it. But I think that is a way to keep the spirit of the thrill of the chase going for those that know it's not the quarry, that it's actually the thrill. So,
right. A lot of people, give Forrest Fenn grief, saying, "Oh, it's a hoax or something. There is no treasure chest. It's not out there." And then they lay all of this stuff on him. So like, you're responsible for things because it's a hoax and so on. And I guess kind of, if I were to sum up my point, and then I'll just leave it alone, because I really do like Sasha. When you find the treasure chest, if you know that the treasure chest is no longer out there, it becomes a hoax, and it's your hoax. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. So
I do have something else real quick
okay.
Before we move to comments. All right. So I know this show is called The Flip Side, right? So I kind of wanted to do something with that, to kind of make my mark on your show. So I thought, this being the flip side, I'd kind of flip it around and ask you some questions. What do you think about that?
Let's do it. Okay.
All right. You ready for the first one? All right. These are tough questions, by the way. I spent a lot of time on these, and I think these are the questions that people really want to know about Sean.
I don't know where the treasure is. I'm not going to tell you what state I'm in.
Okay. Well, let's start with the first question and see what happens. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. And these are also, I should say, these questions are about your week. So like the flip side is like the summary of the last week and what happened and so on. So this is what happened in your week. Okay. All right. So my first question is, what was the best meal that you had this week?
The best meal that I had this week?
Yeah. What's the best thing you ate this week? Assuming you ate. I'm making an assumption here that you actually had.
Okay, fine. I sat down with my 4-year-old and 2-year-old at our little table in their bedroom, and we had milk and cookies
that's cool.
Table in their bedroom. So that was my best meal, hanging out with the kids.
All right, that's a hell of an answer. All right, well, cool. I mean, that's a really great answer. I like that one. All right, you ready for number 2? I mean, it gets a little bit harder.
Uh-oh. I'm in
trouble. All right. You ready for this?
Uh-oh.
All right. What was the most interesting thing that you saw this week?
Does it have to necessarily be in the Finn universe, or it can just be anywhere?
You know, this is kind of open-ended. It's just something in your universe.
Then it would be my two kids out in the backyard playing around, and my wife had this planter that got broken by our dog like a month ago, and it had all these little beads that are in there. I don't know what you call them, but they're stuff my wife put in there. It was like hundreds of them, and the kids ended up spreading them all over the backyard everywhere. So this last week they went out there with my daughter's little jewelry box, and we're running around and picking them all up and calling them their treasure and putting them in, her little jewelry box and walking around. And they brought them up to me and they're like, "Look, Dad, we found all this treasure." And my wife had to snicker in and goes, "Well, they're definitely better at finding treasure than you." So that was kind of fun watching them do that. And then my wife had to jab me really good with that one. So
that is an excellent answer.
My kids are better than finding treasure than all of us too. So I don't know.
So far, your answers are all about your kids. I'm going to start crying here or something. Jeez.
I'm deflecting.
Okay.
What I'm totally doing.
All right. That's a great answer. All right. So I got a couple more. All right. You ready for the third question?
Okay.
This one's pretty hard.
Uh-oh.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. What was the most interesting thing you heard this week?
Can I go back to my kids again?
I mean, it's your show.
I got a funny one for this one.
Yeah, go for it.
My daughter is 4 years old, so of course she's picking up every single word she hears me say or my wife say. So I think I've told everybody before, I have a Saint Bernard, and dogs will do what they do in the backyard. Do. So my daughter was running around the backyard and she stepped in a pile of it, and she literally said, "Oh shit, I stepped in poo-poo." That was the best thing, most interesting thing I heard all week.
Sean, I'm going to tell you a secret here. That's the best thing I heard this week. That's great.
But it's funny, like she used the two separate words. She couldn't have said, "Oh poo-poo, I stepped in poo-poo." She said, "Oh shit, I stepped in poo-poo."
That's awesome.
Yeah, and my wife looked right at me, and yes, I am the culprit.
That's great. All right. Now you got one last question.
That's not necessarily the best word to use. And
all right.
He needs to clean up his language too.
Well, yeah. Okay, I got one final question for you. Okay, this one's the easy one. Okay, I don't. Those other ones, those were pretty tough. This one's the easy one. Okay, you ready? Last question. I promise. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where's the treasure, Sean? Come on, tell us. I know you know.
It's right here under the table. I'm sitting with it right here, folks. It's sitting right here. I'm running my fingers through it right now. I have no idea, folks. It's right where Forrest Fenn left it. It's out there somewhere in the Rocky Mountains.
All right.
We just need to get within 12 feet of it and hopefully have a chance of finding it. So, yeah.
Those are great answers. Thank you for being a good sport in this segment. I'm going to call the flip side.
The flip side.
Right. Well, I'm not going to do that. My hands are here. I'm not flipping.
Bill Gorman does. Who knows?
I've done that with the emoticons. I'm not going to do it again. I'm sorry.
Well, okay. So now I'm running through the chat room here. And again,
I've totally not been paying attention to it. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to catch some. I see. I've got one here from you. And again, guys, it's weird on my chat. I cannot see the first half an hour now. It's not letting me go all the way back up. So I'm here at one point where, dang it, there it is. Got one from Minotaur Marino to you, and dang, it keeps jumping on me. Where'd it go? It says, at Jeremy Parnell, they definitely have a one-room schoolhouse 50 miles away from the long ride home. So just a statement there, I guess.
I mean.
Minotaur, I've tried trying to figure out where that thing is. I think I found a schoolhouse there in somewhere north of Denver. I think it was Longmont or something that had a similar saying over one of the doors. And I had sent that to Forrest asking him if this was it. And he said, no, that wasn't it. But it had that same pretty much same saying that he had said was over the door. He who, teaches a child labors with God in his workshop. So it was very similar to that, if not the exact same words. And I sent that to Forrest, and he said, nope, that's not it. But maybe you know where it is. And I think somebody has posted it before, but I don't know if it's been confirmed.
I will say my honest opinion on some of these things. So a lot of the things that searchers get up to seem like that they're trying to confirm the stories in the book. Maybe that's helpful. I don't know. I will say that my approach isn't really to, fact check things. It's more I try to accept the story as it's written and look at it as a story, whether it's true or not. So I don't know personally if there's a lot of benefit in, hunting down a one-room schoolhouse. Maybe it's there, maybe it isn't. But I personally wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I would try to see what he's trying to tell in that story.
I think it's more of a moral of the story. I think there's, I've talked a lot about, I think in the chapters of the book, he's trying to pass on lessons to us, and he's not trying to just directly give us the answer to that lesson. He's trying to make us think and analyze about what he's trying to convey to us. And I think a lot of people are overlooking those things because they're just trying to, oh my God, I need to find that subtle hint that's going to help me find where Walmart's Hall or whatever else. And I think that they're missing the overall, lessons that I think Forrest Fenn is trying to teach us. Again, that could be very subjective in my opinion and thinking that, but I like to think that. I think that,
Sure.
The man is trying to pass on some knowledge to us, but he's trying to make us think. Now I see, and guys, I know we're over an hour, and I was hoping to keep it to an hour, but we're going good. We still got a good chat room here, and I want to answer some of your questions. I know it's late where you're at, Jeremy. It's definitely 2 hours difference, so you're past midnight right now. Are you still good to go, or?
So my first trip out to New Mexico was a road trip, and we drove 20 hours out there. I think it was 20 hours or something, and I stayed awake for 18 of those driving myself. So I'm good to go. And like I said,
the other 2 hours you slept drove, or?
No. I was mostly good. I didn't cause any accidents, but no, I drink an enormous amount of coffee. It keeps me up. The reason I'm drinking Guinness is because I'd like to go to bed at some point. But no, I'm good to go. It's your show. You let me know.
Okay. I did see one in here. And again, guys, I don't know why my chat bubble here keeps skipping and I cannot see the first half an hour of chat, but I saw one that K-Pro was mentioning something about you got to talk about the Harry Potter connection.
Right. So I don't know if there's actually a Harry Potter connection to the Forrest Fenn universe. I think what she's talking about is my signature line on the site is, you know what? I don't even remember what it was now. It's I solemnly swear that I am up to no good. And that's a quote from the films and the books. And I just love the quote. And, it's true. Most of the time that I'm on the site and stuff, I'm usually just I post a lot of things and it's purely for my own pleasure. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of what I post is actually sincere. I do actually think it would help others. But mostly I'm just having fun. I do this for entertainment. So I joke around a lot and stuff like that. So a little mischief going on.
It's fun. Yeah. I agree. I think a lot of people don't understand other people's sense of humors. I think that we all take ourselves way too seriously, myself included at times. And I think we just all need to sit back and have just a little bit more fun. Again, I've said it before. Sometimes it's a lot of fun to razz each other, on the blogs and on the forums and even on, the YouTube videos. But just don't, once you take it too personally, like I said about, Susie's videos, and you start really making, comments about people's physical looks or character and stuff like that. That just crosses a line. It's fun to razz each other. And I'll admit, I've personally done it in the past before. I've moved beyond that because I'm growing in this just like everybody else. But now if you're going to take it a little too far, there's some lines you just don't cross. One, don't talk about people's families, their kids, things like that. And try and, if you're going to razz somebody, just have fun with them, but don't make it personal. There's a certain line we don't want to cross.
Right. So just throwing this out there, a little background on me. I spent tons of time actually editing at Wikipedia, and Wikipedia actually has a codified rule, no personal attacks. And I try to apply that when I'm in the Forrest Fenn universe on blogs of that type. So it's not just no personal attacks because, you know, everybody should get along. It's actually, you know, there's never an argument that is made more convincing by making a personal attack. It doesn't help your argument at all. An ad hominem attack is just it makes you look bad. It doesn't do anything for you. So just stop it. There's no point in it. No personal attacks should be your personal rule. It's not necessarily a personal rule that blogs are going to enforce, but it should be your own personal rule.
Well
I try to apply it myself.
Well said. I think we can all learn something from that. You know, I mean, all of us across the spectrum. And I'm still going through here. Sean needs groupies. Okay, David, I don't need groupies. No.
I'm Sean's groupie. What are you talking about?
And he's saying he wants somebody to crash over at my Bruce Distillery when I go down there on Wednesdays. I'm going to find a new place now. That's the problem. Going through, again, the chat room, it always does a great job of just communicating well with each other. There's a lot of good relationships that people are fostering in these chat rooms. You know, I think, you know, Jason Dent, Finn Treasure Hunter, has joked about just putting up a chat room and just letting it go for hours on end and just let people talk. I think it's a great idea. And I think Pro was hinting at something about that. Are you going to talk about that? So.
No, I was just going to agree with you. Yeah, that seems maybe she can. It is a she, right?
Yeah, K-Pro. Yeah.
Okay, just double checking. I don't know. You're all genderless until I see your face. So yeah, it is a new feature that I believe they're introducing. Maybe she can speak to that a little bit more, but it sounds pretty exciting. My only hope is that, you know, I do live in the Eastern time zone. I know the treasure hunt takes place in the Rocky Mountains, but there are people who live all over the world who do not live in the Rocky Mountains. If you guys throw some love our way, we'll return it. So like, I know most of Toby's video sessions, they occur during the week. Your after hours, that's in the week. Some of us aren't retired and we do have to get up and go to work in the morning. So if you guys fit us in some time on the weekends or something like that, we'll respond in kind. We'll show up and we'll participate.
Well, let me tell you, I'm
everybody on the East.
Getting out of bed on Thursday mornings.
Thursday morning? Oh.
Thursday mornings after the after hours. Because I don't get home till a little after 10, and I've had a couple beers. So
okay, process that. I'm on the East Coast.
I don't want to get out of bed. I've got one here from Minotaur Marino. He said, "Am I missing something? I thought you were a poem purist. Now you're telling me Finn is giving us other hints." Yeah, Minotaur Marino. I still personally claim myself to be a poem purist. I know other people like to label me a non-poem purist because I look at things outside of the poem. Again, I've said it many times, I did not start out as a poem purist. I started out as looking at everything, just like everybody else. I evolved into what I define as a poem purist. You cannot open up a dictionary and point to the definition of a poem purist and say that's what a poem purist is. It's funny to me that those people that want to claim what a poem purist is are not a poem purist, or what I would deem as a poem purist. So, you know, what I claim as a poem purist is somebody who has belief and faith that all the information that they need to find the treasure is wholly contained within the poem. And again, I believe that grammar is key and punctuation is key in understanding that. So that is the pure foundation of my solve. It doesn't mean that I don't pay attention to everything else that's out there and use it as, like I like to say, as ballast and checks and balances in the system. Again, you know, the 5,000 foot rule, the 10,200 foot rule, all those things to make sense, you know, and checking to make sure that the solve that I've come up with, basically using a poem, fits within those parameters. That's my definition. If you want to claim it as something else and say that I'm not a poem purist, go right ahead, buddy. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I know what I feel that I'm doing in the chase is, and that's what I define myself as, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So enough of that. I just don't understand why there's such a negative connotation towards someone who claims himself to be a poem purist. I just don't understand that. Back going through here.
I'm relying on you to find things.
Again, the chat room is great, just talking amongst themselves and
cool.
Trying to go through here.
I do remember that there were some early questions and stuff. If
if
those
you
were
can catch some of the first ones, I missed them because my chat here on my iPad is not allowing me.
Hey, if anybody's there, feel free to ask your question again and just like kind of highlight us, and I'll be happy to answer.
Yeah, guys, if you just hit the ampersand, I can never pronounce that right, sorry, sign, and then you type in the person's name, it should highlight it for Jeremy or myself. That way we can see it. Here's another one from Minotaur Marino. He says, once Forrest dies, I'm done with the search. There will be literally hundreds of people claiming they found it with no one to dispute it. Yeah, Minotaur, I'm right there with you. I'm not going to quit the chase. And I hate to, like Jeremy says, talk about, the man could be watching our show tonight. I don't want to talk about those kind of things about it, in that way. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from. It's going to be complete chaos at that point if the treasure chest isn't found. There's going to be people jumping out of the woodworks saying they found it, and who is really going to be, that anchor or whatever to keep us, firm in this thing. And I think we really have to rely on those in the search community that we would consider those people that are veterans and foundations of the solve. And I know people won't necessarily of the solve of the chase, that, and I know some people won't agree with me, but I think that people like Dal Neitzel, people like Cynthia Meacham, and others that have been in this chase for a long time. And I know I'm not mentioning everybody, but just a couple of people, that those are, a couple of people that are cornerstones in this chase that will be able to help communicate to the chase community. I don't know if Forrest Fenn has a plan for when that happens, if someone is to be the spokesperson for the chase, who knows, and we just don't know that. I don't know, but I understand what you're saying, Minotaur. It may be complete chaos at that point. And let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope that it is found this year and we can all have a fitting into this, and move on, and maybe we can all get some sleep.
So my thought on that is, again, if whenever, I hope it's another 100 years, when Forrest Fenn passes away, I'm probably going to draw back a little bit, but it's not because something, can't be proved at that point. I think that right now we really shouldn't be relying on Forrest Fenn to give us any kind of confirmation at all. And if we do have a really good solve, solution, whatever you want to call it, it should involve some sort of proof. I think there should be confirmation as part of the solve, and you really shouldn't be waiting around for Forrest Fenn to, say, yeah, the treasure has been found, or no, the treasure hasn't been found. You should just do the work and solve it. That's all. Maybe you don't take as many expensive trips after Forrest Fenn passes away. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, do the work.
Go out and enjoy the Rocky Mountains, folks. We don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Treasure to find to enjoy it.
So speaking of Minotaur Marino, he says, what's your best solve and where is it to me? And, I am a New Mexico searcher, have been since the start. I've come up with solves in virtually everywhere. One of the things that Sean didn't mention about my early involvement is I drew this recurring comic strip that involved Santa versus Forrest Fenn. I don't know if you guys seen that. Maybe I can resurrect it from somewhere. But yeah, as part of that, like at the final bit, Forrest Fenn has to figure out where Santa hid his gift that he was supposed to get for Christmas. And I literally was able to make the poem fit this place called North Pole, Colorado. I don't know if anybody lives near there, but you can actually make the poem fit a solve that leads to the North Pole in Colorado. That's how crazy it is. So I come up with solves all the time. I come up with them for everywhere. When I actually get in the car and I go, it's to New Mexico. And there's several reasons for that. I really do think that the treasure is probably in New Mexico. I can't say that definitively. But I just love New Mexico. It's a great place. Especially, so those of you who live in the Rocky Mountains, you don't know how great you got it. We have nothing like the Rocky Mountains over here in the East. We don't have anything that kind of, climate or any of that stuff. Whenever I go out to the Southwest, it is entirely an alien place to me, and I love that stuff. And that's where I get my enjoyment. So yeah, New Mexico all the way.
So
it's the
what
land of
we need to
cowboys.
start? Here's something we need to do in the search community. We need to have couch surfing with searchers. We need to have like an Airbnb with Fenn tuber, Fenn chasers, whatever you want to call it. We need to come up.
Absolutely.
This will be our business plan. We're going to come up with some kind of Airbnb for searchers, so we can couch surf other searchers. We'll cut down on your costs. You want to save a few $100 like Jeremy's talking about. We're going to work out a deal.
Oh yeah, like everything I wrote. Well, most of what I wrote in that post is actually true. I have not spent more than a couple of $100 in gas going out there, and then I go off and I buy some souvenirs and knickknacks and things like that. But the actual cost to go out there is, even coming from central Kentucky, it doesn't cost that much. There's no reason. When you get on a plane and you try to lug a bunch of equipment, it's probably going to cost you a lot more, but there's no reason why most of the people out there can't just go looking for the treasure. It doesn't matter where you're from.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Airbnb is a good idea. And I was going to interject real quick. Another good idea that we need to do is, because I really believe this, you can apply the solve to virtually anywhere. So I think we should come up with a challenge. And K-Pro, you're always looking for challenges, right? So the challenge is you pick some random place, right? You just let Google do it for you or whatever. You pick some random place. And then the challenge is coming up with a solve that sends you to that place, because I guarantee you it can be done. I mean, like I said, I made the solve fit North Pole, Colorado, and I shouldn't have been, but that's how vague the poem actually is.
We need to send that challenge to Forrest. We'll tell him the location, and then make him put a solve to fit that location. Forrest, if you're listening, we're going to do that to you. We're going to make you awesome. The solve. So I got one. I see one here from Journeyman. He said Fenn didn't hide the treasure in the Rockies to have them hold up. Journeyman, I lost you there. I don't know what you're saying there. So I lost you, brother. I don't know what you're saying on that question. Are you seeing the other quote? Oh, there's one there from DeCall. Ha ha ha, a Sean Dotson roast. Okay, sure. When was that? What were you talking about there, DeCall?
I think he's drunk off the Diet Coke.
Is he drunk off the Diet Coke? Yeah.
I think so.
K-Pro says she's loving
that Diet Coke.
You.
What was that? I'm sorry.
K-Pro says she's loving this.
Good.
To you. I love this. Either that or she loves you. One of the two. She might. I don't know.
So I blame Forrest Fenn for all of that. He said, read the blogs for entertainment, and I saw that as a challenge. So that's why I am the way I am. I try to be entertaining just because he said that.
Yeah. Minotaur Marino, to me, what's your best solve to the poem? I don't have the best solve to the poem because I haven't found the treasure yet. And when and if I find the treasure, that will be the best solve to the poem. But as a poem purist, I think that grammar and everything is the uttermost importance. Minotaur is just asking me a whole lot of questions.
Yeah, he's very inquisitive. He knows something.
So you're saying, Minotaur, that Lander has a one-room schoolhouse? Okay. Are you thinking that that's the one he's talking about? Maybe. Cool. I haven't seen anybody talk about a one-room schoolhouse in Lander, but you may be right. Maybe that's the one he's talking about there.
So Minotaur asked me, I believe, wait, are you the cartoon artist that did the boots on the ground guy on Old Santa Fe Trading Company? No, I'm only talking about some, it's a little comic book thing that I did just for fun around Christmas time in 2015. I have no relation to Forrest Fenn or any of that. He doesn't even know who I am.
Not finding much more here. Jeremy P. K-Pro says to you, I am East Coast, just for your FYI. So she's East Coast too.
How do you do it? I don't know how you do it. Maybe you guys don't get up at 5 a.m. like I do.
Yeah, I'm up at 5 here. That's when I'm up. Either it's with the kids on the weekend or in the morning going to work. There's one from Minotaur to you. What's your best solve and where is it?
Yeah, that's the one I was answering before. I'm a New Mexico searcher. I can narrow it down a little bit. I'm in north of Santa Fe, not south of Santa Fe. Uh, I don't believe it's in Santa Raza,
I know
Laser.
I can never pronounce it
Yeah.
either. You know, and a lot of people, I remember having a conversation with Kyle Sandow about his San Lorenzo. I can never pronounce it. But he had told me that he really sees that more of as where warm waters halt, not that he believes that the treasure is there.
Oh,
So
okay.
that gives some more clarification and credibility to him. You know that you know a lot of people are giving him a hard time. I think there are other people out there that think that it is there, but I think if I maybe Kyle, if you're in here and watching or lurking or whatever, maybe you can correct me. But I think you had said something about you believe that more as your warm waters halts than anything else.
Yeah, there's a lot of searchers who feel like even everything that the clues refer to has to be within the Rocky Mountains north of Santa Fe. I don't think that there's any reason to believe that. I mean, it's a safe assumption. It's
Sure.
probably what you should choose to believe, but I don't think that there's anything, I keep saying in canon, there's nothing in the canon of Forrest Fenn's treasure hunt that says anything remotely like that, that everything that the poem refers to must be in the Rocky Mountains north of Santa Fe. You could pick Central Park.
He said it several times that you know the treasure you know is on this map. He's never said that Warm Waters Halt is on this map or any of the other clues are on the map. He's only said that the treasure is on the map. And
That's
Downright
right.
has been very you know consistent in mentioning that to a lot of new searchers that you know be aware that you know your Warm Waters Halt or your interpretation of all the clues may not you know start within that map. They may start outside of that. The treasure only has to be in those 4 search states and on that map. So,
That's right.
and who knows what that distance is from your warm water salt to where the treasure is. It could be a great distance. It could be a very short distance. I mean, it could be many things. So I think we're
Certainly.
caught up on the chat in here. You know, again, the chat's really good about just communicating with each other, completely ignoring us and going about their business, which is great. Absolutely.
Yeah, I see a couple of comments in here. So K-Pro was asking me when my next boots on the ground is. I don't really know. I don't have any solid plans for this year. If I do decide to go searching again, I have no idea when it would be. So sorry. And then somebody else mentioned something about Ben Downing says that he will go to North Pole, Colorado tomorrow morning if I send him my solve.
There you go.
So,
You're going to get
yeah.
half the treasure if he finds it.
So technically speaking, you're not going to find Forrest Fenn's treasure there. You're going to find the gift that Santa left for Forrest and said, "Hey, you know, if you want to find your gift, here's the poem that you have to solve." So,
Right. And Minotaur just jumped in there and said the one-room schoolhouse was at the start of Sinks Canyon. Okay, cool. Yeah, nice. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. But I've got a question for you, Jeremy. I mean,
sure.
I think you've got a great voice. I think you articulate yourself very well. I mean, are you given any consideration about doing your own YouTube channel? I think you do very well.
Well, thank you for the compliments. I completely disagree with you. I hate my voice, and thank you for bringing it up. But no, I probably won't do a YouTube channel just because I don't really have a ton of time. You know, if I did, it would only be on the weekends. I actually struggled wondering what I would talk about tonight. Like maybe I could come up with something to fill a you know, a video cast or something, but I don't think that. So here's the thing about it. Like I talk to people all the time about Forrest Fenn's treasure, but they're all people who don't know anything about Forrest Fenn's treasure. I struggle with like, what can I talk to you guys about? Because you guys already do know a lot of the things that I would normally say, like, oh, it's the best thing in the world. You just jump in the car, you go out there, you have a lot of fun. Well, you guys either already know that, or you guys are already out there doing that. So I don't feel like I need to fill a space that is not being filled. I think you guys are doing a great job at it, and I will continue being a loyal viewer. But no, I probably won't be creating content.
If you ever think twice about it, man, I think you do great at it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, guys, that pretty much wraps up the weekend update. I just want to say, a big thank you to all your viewers out there. I know spending a little bit of your Saturday night, spending, an hour and a half with us, we definitely appreciate you coming out and taking your time out of your night to do that. So again, if you like this video, please give it a like. If you haven't subscribed already, give it a subscribe, and we will catch you all on the flip side. So have a good night, folks. See ya.